Welcome to Reddit Corner. Today, we have eerie tales from r/humanoid encounters, where night drivers catch glimpses of the unknown in the glow of their high beams, and shadowy figures crouch on the corners of unsuspecting sleepers' beds. Our first post is from Ghost in the Closet 80. A couple of years ago, I volunteered to help out at a store way out of my itinerary. I usually commuted from the Hartford area to Springfield, Massachusetts for work, but a store in our chain needed help, and I felt like an adventure away from my norm. The store was a lot farther than anticipated, and after a blah day, I set out home. Problem was, it was October, and the sun was gone by 8 p.m., a full moon to boot, and the road home runs by a state forest with little illumination for drivers. I generally don't like driving at night. I can't see very well. Because of this, I like using my high beams. After about 45 minutes of driving in darkness with barely any streetlights, the full moon lighting the areas with my high beams, I was already apprehensive. No cars on the road but me. Ugh. Slowly driving because I'm afraid of some dead man's curve or something, I saw in the road a dead deer. I just drove around it, and the smell was pretty bad. And just as the smell drifted out of my car, which was pretty distracting, something was in front of me on the passenger's side, running. It ran on 2 legs, but it had a gait that made it look like it was on 4 at times. It was human-like in skin color, but had almost a hunchy, spiny back and bald head. As soon as I got close enough, it veered sharply into the woods. I did not movie cliché into a stop, or look in the rearview mirror. I just got sick to my stomach and kept driving. Told my wife and went to bed, and decided never to take that route again. Our next post is from Charles McFarles 5. A few years ago, I had just finished my first semester of college. I had started in the summer, so this story takes place in between my first summer semester and my first fall semester. I had been partying it up all summer with my dad's old frat. I was still pretty young and dumb, so I didn't quite understand myself or the world around me. I would soon drop the frat life and switch over to more productive hobbies, but that's beside the point. My parents were leaving town for a week to go to Canada, and I saw this as an opportunity to throw a bunch of parties at the house while they were gone. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but one way or another, one of my old terrible friends drove over my house's water pipes and broke them. Another friend broke our microwave, and another person broke the legs of a couch by, I'm assuming, jumping on it or something. Needless to say, there was no covering up the fact that I'd been partying in their house. When they came home, they were obviously furious. I was sent to my room immediately after helping clean some more stuff that I hadn't seen. I'd never felt so much fear in my life. I felt just absolutely guilty, as I should have, and was maybe at one of my lowest points. I managed to go to sleep, but that night I was woken up by a voice. When I opened my eyes, there was a large, solidly black figure of a man sitting directly in front of me. I was facing the right of my bedroom, so he was essentially sitting on a stack of pillows that was next to my bed. That was just part of the creepiness, because this figure was much larger, almost muscular than the average human. But he was definitely sitting, not standing. I don't remember everything it said, but when it did, I just remember being so terrified to be in its presence. One of the things that it said stuck with me. Reach out and touch me, I'm real. I could not move anything. This makes me understand in retrospect that it was most likely sleep paralysis, but it still isn't any less creepy to me with reasoning like that. It also said to me, close your eyes and open them again. I did this. After I did, it vanished. But then, out of nowhere, the voice came again. It said, do it again. I did. When I opened my eyes, there was the figure again, just sitting there and staring at me. I just want to clarify that this figure didn't have any discernible traits besides it being human-like. It was not the Hat Man, It did not have eyes, and it did not have a face. It was simply a solid black humanoid figure. I think after a while it either just went away or I was somehow able to fall asleep again. The next morning I told my mom about it while we were doing more cleaning around the house. She told me it must be my guardian angel looking over me and sending me a message to do good, not evil. I am no longer religious, but if I had to hazard a guess, that thing felt way more like a demon to me, and it seemed to have been attracted to my negative energy due to me being in trouble. Regardless of it being demon or angel, Shadowman or sleep paralysis. After having seen that, I made an effort to change and to be a better son to my parents. Our next post is from DryMap3428. I was around 12 or 13 and in middle school at the time, waiting around at the bus stop. The sun was rising. I was mindlessly looking around when I caught a glimpse of something quite large in a tall tree. It looked heavy-set, and I could make out wings. I saw it move a little and I freaked out, set out to run, and then I saw the bus. I turned around and the creature was gone. I figured I had totally imagined the whole thing. I was very tired. It was early. Whatever. Fast forward a few weeks, and it's about 9 p.m. and dark outside. I'm in my room watching TV, when all of a sudden I hear banging on my window and yelling. I look out my window to see my best friend. I open the window, and like a crazy person he climbs through, telling me to close the window. Turns out he claimed to have saw something in the park, huge with wings, and it was chasing him from the park. The park was a short walk from my house, less than 10 minutes. This is the last time I heard about the creature until my sister called me a month or so ago and was asking me about the creature I saw. I told her it was years ago, I don't remember a whole lot about it, and I figured I hallucinated it, or just plain made it up. She starts telling me about a story her husband was telling her about a flying creature that chased him and his friends at the same park in the middle of the night. What he recounted seemed pretty accurate to my experience. To the best of my knowledge, the creature reminded me of a gargoyle. I can try to recount more, or get more info from my brother-in-law if there's any interest. Our next post is from Alice Anonymous. My wife's family lives on a reserve in the Algonquin area of Canada. The encounters of skinwalkers in that area are endless. I've heard stories of 20 or more people seeing this thing at once, but no one likes to talk about it. My wife as well as my mother-in-law have seen what they believed was a skinwalker in the same place about 30 years apart. Huge black thing with red eyes in their grandmother's basement. That grandma now lives in a different house, and we often stay with her. Last Thursday we had to stay the night. I hate it there, even though I'm not usually afraid of stuff like that. Her place gives me the absolute creeps. We're in bed, and it's about 2 a.m., and I have to go to the bathroom, so I walk across the upstairs and past her grandma's room, and I can see right into her room, and the clock LEDs, etc. On my way back, I had this overwhelming urge to run as fast as possible back to our room, so I did. I noticed passing her room I could no longer see in. There was this absolutely massive being standing in the doorway. I was petrified. When I came back, my wife asked what was out there, 'cause she could feel it too. I couldn't see their eyes, but it wasn't human, and I've never experienced anything like that before. Our next post is from Harjeet Hellboy 321. I live in a small town of a few hundred people in the middle of nowhere in northern India. It is surrounded by a huge forest on the western side, and farmlands on the other 3. My house is positioned on the southeastern corner of the village. So last night, at about 2 a.m., I am awakened by this blood-curdling scream coming from the east. I think it was loud enough to wake up our entire village, though I haven't talked to anyone about this yet. This scream sounded like nothing I have ever heard, like a mix between a scream and a howl. Mind you, there are no animals in our area except some stray dogs and some wild boars. This scream was loud enough to give me goosebumps. I quickly turned off all my lights and looked out of the window which faces the south, and that's when I saw it, about 100 meters away from me. It looked like a canine-like creature running on 2 legs. Its fur looked silvery white under the moonlight. It was running at very high speeds and crossed from where I saw it into the forest in about 30 seconds. But in the middle of its path, when it was closest to my home, it stopped for a few seconds and looked in my direction. I am still not sure if it was looking at me or something else. One thing that I have been thinking about is how slowly its legs moved, yet so fast it ran. This could mean that the creature was very big, like 10 feet tall. I am very scared right now, as my village has this saying that we should never look outside our windows at night, as evil spirits might see us and enter our lives. Our next post is from Equal Prejudice. This happened all the way back in 2017. I was camping with my friend. He had a huge farmland surrounded by forest. We were outside in front of the farmhouse in a tent. He was asleep, but me, always having insomnia, I was wide awake. All of a sudden, I hear loud, slow footsteps coming from out of the forest, coming over in the direction of the tent. This terrified me because I didn't know what it was. A bear? A deer? A person? No clue. So I was waiting for the footsteps to stop outside the tent, and I was preparing myself for the absolute worst, because since it was heading in the tent's direction, that's what I assumed was going to happen. But it didn't. Instead, these footsteps moved past the tent. So, after hearing these loud, slow, methodical footsteps come from out of the woodwork, ignore 2 defenseless kids, and then silence for easily 10 minutes, curiosity started to eat away at me. When I was a kid, I was stupid. I unzipped the tent and quietly peeked my head out to see if I could see anything. I'm looking all around the tree line, the house, everywhere, and I cannot find the source of these footsteps. I'm just about to put my head back inside when I spot something that doesn't really make sense. Behind the farmhouse, to the right is the actual farm, and next to this farm is a pole. I saw what looked like a 30-foot tall, grayish-silver pole, standing next to this farm. It was shiny and glistening in the moonlight. I studied this weird structure up and down with my eyes, confused, because I know damn well I would have easily noticed this 30-foot freaking tall pole bizarrely placed inches away from this farm earlier when it was daytime. But I didn't. By the way, I should really stop calling this thing a pole, because after looking at this strange object really hard, I realized that this freaking pole had arms and legs. They looked like rods, perfectly straight, symmetrical, and proportioned with its size and stature. It looked so smooth and round, and it looked like it was stretched out. I don't know how to explain it. I then realized that it was doing something. It was spinning in a circle, ever so slowly. I was dumbfounded. I had no idea what I could possibly be looking at. All of a sudden, this thing, this 30-foot tall, shiny, spinning, pole-like humanoid thing, took an uncomfortably long step back into the woods, still spinning ever so slowly, still glistening and shining in the moonlight. Thank you for listening today. If you enjoy this content, hit the like and subscribe buttons, leave a comment, or share this video with your friends. Until next time.